guys and gals? James Randall here on this gorgeous Monday morning, and we've got news for normies for you today. Of course, we're going to sift through the news, see what we've got. We've got a lot of crazy stuff, including apparently my music trying to play itself out for like the 10,000th time. I don't know what that's about. Anyways, in the news today, we're kicking off with a story from the Washington Post, and of course the underneath tagline for them is "Democracy Dies in Darkness," so that's fun. This one, Kentucky's only black female legislator is arrested on felony rioting charge at Breonna Taylor protests. And this is from today, mind you. 25th. Wait, what are we on? 28th? No, it's 3 days ago. Okay. As the only black female representative in the Kentucky Capitol, State Representative Attica Scott took action after the death of Breonna Taylor, who was fatally shot by police raiding her home in March. In August, Scott proposed Breonna's Law, a bill that would end no-knock warrants statewide, and when a grand jury decided not to indict the officers in Taylor's death, Scott joined hundreds of protesters in the streets of Louisville. There's a lot of stuff coming out about Breonna Taylor's situation there, and I think we're going to cover some a little bit later on. Yeah, I do have a story about that. On Thursday night, Louisville police arrested Scott Lang. Arrested Scott Lang. Ant-Man. Oh, man, you can tell it's Monday morning, huh? Louisville police arrested Scott along with a handful of other protesters near First Unitarian Church and the Louisville Free Public Library, which had allegedly been set on fire, according to a police report viewed by WAVE. That's W-A-V-E. The state representative received a felony charge of first-degree rioting and 2 misdemeanors for failure to disperse an unlawful assembly, the Louisville Courier-Journal reported. The paper reported Scott was released from jail Friday morning. Wow, a felony charge and a felony charge of first-degree rioting and then 2 misdemeanors. First-degree rioting, felony charge. I can't imagine what that charge is. Louisville police arrested at least 24 people Thursday night, the department said in a Facebook post. In a news conference on Thursday, interim police chief Robert Schroeder said authorities arrested 127 people on Wednesday night. The protests began on Wednesday after 3 officers involved in Taylor's fatal shooting were not indicted in her death. A grand jury in Jefferson County, Kentucky, instead indicted Brett Hankinson, a former Louisville police detective who was fired in June, with 3 charges of wanton endangerment in the first degree. The decision meant the former detective endangered the lives of Taylor's neighbors by firing the rounds. Yeah, basically they kind of spray and prayed there inside these apartments, and some of those rounds went into other apartments. Obviously, that's just terrible. I don't know how a cop or a police officer, whatever you want to call them, I don't know how you can be one of those and not have enough training to know not to just randomly fire your service arm. That's just crazy to me. I mean, that's against every gun safety rule there is on the books. The decision came as a blow to activists and protesters who have spent months demanding that the officers who fired on Taylor be charged in her death. Scott has been among the loudest political voices in Kentucky, calling for police accountability. In an interview with NPR this week, she said that justice is hardly ever served when it's police officers murdering black people. Ugh, woof. Our call to action is to continue to make sure that the city of Louisville understands that we will not go away and that we will continue to demand the defunding of police and the dismantling of this police department because it's corrupt from the inside out, from the bottom to the top, and it cannot continue to function the way it does. Right. This whole defund the police thing is a silly argument going back and forth between the left and the right now. And I don't really know where to stand on it other than we have to have cops, but the cops are definitely undertrained at the least. I don't know if it's corrupt from the inside out. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like most government institutions are probably corrupt from the inside out, so what are you going to do, right? Scott, who has been a state representative since 2017, pre-filed a bill to end no-knock search warrants on August 16th. Breonna's Law, which would force police to knock and verbally announce themselves, also requires a judge to approve the use of violent entry when issuing the warrant. Additionally, officers would have to activate their body cameras when serving the warrant. Why isn't that a thing? I thought you would be in body cam rolling, anytime you're doing something crazy like this. Now, no-knock warrants are just horrible policy. I mean, they talk about un-American. I don't know how that ever passed to begin with. It's just ridiculous. 5 minutes before you serve that warrant and 5 minutes after, those body cameras better be on, Scott said when announcing the bill in August. Scott also included a provision that police must be screened for drug and alcohol following a deadly incident or after firing their gun while on duty. Yeah, I'm down with that. Frankly, I'm surprised it's not already standard operating procedure, and I am in complete agreement there. How do they not take a drug test after they shoot somebody? It is unclear if or when the Kentucky House will vote on Breonna's Law. 2 months before Scott brought the legislation to the state levels, Louisville City Council unanimously voted to ban no-knock warrants. Good. The bill that I have filed, Breonna's Law for Kentucky, has to pass. Scott said to NPR, it has to pass so that what happened in the case of Breonna Taylor does not happen again. That we have to get policy change because the system will not change unless the policies reflect what the people are demanding. Yeah, the no-knock warrant thing is just absurd to me. I really can't see how that passed in America. I mean, that is a flagrant violation of your rights to be able to have armed people storm into your house. I don't care if they're with the government or not. Armed people should never be storming your house. It's crazy. All right. Breonna Taylor evidence leaks appear to show charged Louisville officer in her unit after the shooting. So now they're leaking things out. This is brought to us by USA Today, Darcy Costello and Tessa Duvall. Louisville Courier-Journal reporting. Just days after a grand jury issued no charges against Louisville officers who fatally shot Breonna Taylor, evidence from the case is leaking out on social media and digital news sites, raising questions about the investigation into her death. Of course. Of course this was going to happen. Everybody leaks everything nowadays, and everybody knows too much and says too much and posts too much, and, you know, it's just part of the digital world we live in. Video footage reviewed by the Courier-Journal appearing to come from body cameras worn by Louisville Metro police officers at Taylor's apartment March 13th shows potential violations of policies designed to maintain the integrity of the investigation. Great. So now they're messing with the crime scene, basically. In a clip posted Saturday by the digital site Vice News. Oh, God. Vice News. Former detective Brett Hankinson can be seen entering Taylor's apartment while investigators are inside working the scene after her death. Hankinson was one of 3 officers who fired their guns at Taylor's apartment that night, and he was subsequently fired and charged with wanton endangerment when some of his bullets went into an occupied apartment next to Taylor's. Hankinson, Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, and Detective Miles Cosgrove fired more than 30 rounds after Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired 1 shot when the officers broke in the door while trying to serve a no-knock search warrant. Walker said he didn't realize it was the police. In the body cam footage posted on Vice, Hankinson can be seen about a shell casing on the ground saying, "That's theirs. That's ours, it looks like." An unidentified officer responds before telling Hankinson to back out until they get PIU in here. That's the Public Integrity Unit. Hankinson doesn't exit right away, instead asking, "Are there any guns visible?" as he shines a flashlight into the apartment. He then asks if there's a long gun. So the cop is now back at the crime scene asking about what happened, asking if anybody is killed, is there guns found, what's going on. Probably freaking out because he just shot somebody, you know. So none of these looks are going to make anything better. Probably some of them are designed to make things worse even. I am a fan of the idea that news doesn't report on committed crimes until an investigation has been concluded, or, you know, until there's more facts to the case. I don't see the point of the news reporting on things without facts, and then everybody's speculating and going crazy over it. Yeah. For months they've refused to release documents in the investigative file. Okay, so this has been going on for a time then. So see, you should be able to get get this data, basically. But instead, now, all we've got is contextless videos and such that are being released and, you know, probably cherry-picked and all that stuff, because everybody's got their narrative and they're going to try to push with whatever they're releasing, or they wouldn't release it, which is how our news organizations work, which is partly why I do this show. All right, moving right along to the BBC News. This is in Yanjiang. This is a Chinese... Is it Shenyang, or... I believe it's Shenyang. Large numbers of new detention camps are uncovered in a report. So those that don't know, there's a real issue in China with racism, and there's an issue in China with the Uyghur Muslims. So the Australian Strategic Policy Institute says there are 380 suspected facilities in the Shenyang region, some 40% more than previous estimates. China says its aim is to tackle poverty and religious extremism in Shenyang, but the U.S. has likened the centers to concentration camps. Rights groups say at least 1 million people have been incarcerated in the system. The report identifies 100 more detention sites than previous investigations have shown based on analysis of satellite imagery, interviews with eyewitnesses, media reports, and official documents. More than 60 detention sites were worked upon between July 19th and July 2020, while 14 camps are still under construction, the report said. Around half of the new centers are higher security facilities, which could suggest a shift towards prison-style facilities, report author Nathan Rooser said. The findings of this research contradict Chinese officials' claims that all trainees from so-called vocational training centers had graduated by late 2019. So China's been rounding up these Muslims and trying to re-educate them by housing them in what's pretty much prison complexes. Instead, available evidence suggests that many extrajudicial detainees in Shenyang's vast re-education network are now being formally charged and locked up in higher security facilities, including newly built or expanded prisons or sent to walled factory compounds for coerced labor assignments. However, around 70 camps have seen the removal of fencing and perimeter walls, the report added. Chinese state-controlled newspaper Global Times has since reported that ASPI contributors Clive Hamilton and Alex Joske have been banned from entering the country. Beijing has faced international condemnation for its network of detention centers, which mostly house Muslim minorities. The U.S. has placed sanctions on Chinese politicians allegedly involved, and earlier this month blocked some exports it said had been made with forced labor. Well, that's China for you. People are crying and screaming, ranting and raving about fascism here in the United States, but China lives fascism every single day. Their whole government is about that life, as the kids would say. Let's move on to some Hollywood news. Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore in the original Ghostbusters. I don't know if you guys are Ghostbusters fans. I was a huge Ghostbusters fan growing up as a kid. I loved it. I was practically obsessed with it, man. I had all the toys. Original 2 movies, fantastic. The reboot with the girls, I actually thought it was pretty terrible, but I'm told I'm not allowed to say that it's terrible because of, it was girl power or whatever, and it was made for girls and not for me, so I'm just, I'm past judgment. I don't care. Ghostbusters star Ernie Hudson confirms Afterlife will link up to original movies. So for those who don't know, they're making another Ghostbusters movie. It's got Paul Rudd in it, if I remember correctly. And the original Ghostbusters are going to make cameos and such. So original Ghostbuster Ernie Hudson has confirmed that the new movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife, will directly connect to the first 2 movies. Hudson played Winston Zeddemore in the first and the second movie, and is reprising his role in the Jason Reitman-directed third movie, too. Speaking to online movie show Yes Have Some, he said, "It wasn't until I got the script and read the script that I thought, not only is it happening, but this is really good. It's really in line with what the fans have been hoping for, and it really ties into the first 2 movies. The movie will narratively discard the Paul Feig reboot from 2016, in which the Ghostbusters were recast as an all-female group of paranormal investigators." Well, thank goodness for that. Despite that, the original stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Annie Potts, and Hudson did feature in cameo roles. Referencing it in his interview, Hudson said that he enjoyed appearing and that it was kind of a different take on it. This time around, the story centers on the leftover star Carrie Coon, who, after moving back to her hometown with her 2 kids, Stranger Things' Finn Wolfhard and Disney star McKenna Grace, discovers her own connection to the original Ghostbusters. Murray, Aykroyd, Weaver, Potts, and Hudson all also reprise the roles, alongside Paul Rudd's local high school teacher, who emerges as a Ghostbusters buff. And with pleasing synchronicity, Jason Reitman, son of the movie's original director Ivan Reitman, is behind the camera, with Reitman Sr. also acting as producer. Scheduled for release March 5th, 2021. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait. Just see the original guys at it too, and especially the fact that they're bringing Murray and everybody. I mean, how could you not? How could you not be excited for that? As for continuing the original stories, I'm glad. I'm so tired of the remake thing. I'd rather the story just continue, recast, create new characters in that world, whatever you got to do. But like the whole, let's just make the original story over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, Spider-Man wore me out on that, to say the least. Staying with the good old film news, Steven Spielberg has exited Indiana Jones 5 after plot disagreements. The 5th Indiana Jones movie will be the first not to be directed by Steven Spielberg. And according to an interview with screenwriter David Koepp, who was also working on the project, it was all down to a disagreement over the various elements involved in pulling the movie together. Speaking to Den of Geek, Koepp said, "I tried a couple different versions with Steven, and they all had some good stuff about them, and they all had some stuff that didn't work, which happens. But it was just very hard to have everybody come together and have all the elements, Steven, Harrison Ford, the script, and Disney, come together at once. And it didn't. When James Mangold came in and Steven stepped out, that was a pretty logical breaking point. It's a gracious time to step out the door because I think the last thing a new director wants is the old director's writer." Kopp explained, though, that their departure from the project was amicable, and he's happy with the new directions it's going in. Mangold, director of Logan and Walk the Line, was announced as the movie's new director back in February, taking over from Spielberg, who has helmed all of the Indiana Jones movies. I love Mangold's work, so I can't wait to see what he comes up with for this. Logan was phenomenal. That's like, I could not have asked for a better Wolverine movie. Like, just seriously. I was a gigantic Wolverine fan growing up as a kid, too. Spielberg will stay on as a hands-on producer of the movie, but with Cop-Out 2, it's not known who will script. Harrison Ford's getting so old, though. I just don't see him as Indy Jones in a... I just don't see it. I gotta admit, I really don't. All right, a little sports action here. Tua Tagliavella I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, so forgive me on that one. It's Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa. Tua says he'll live on endorsement money, save $30 million rookie deal for later. Is it Tagovailoa? Oh, man. It looks like Miami Dolphins first-rounder Tua T is going to have to be patient while waiting behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for his day as starting quarterback. It's not the only area he's exercising patience. In an interview with GQ published Friday, the rookie walked through how he's handling his finances now that he's a multimillionaire and revealed an interesting nugget about his spending. This is from GQ. I'm going to be living off my marketing money, so the endorsement money that I get, and then everything else is just put to the side. So the money that I'm making for my contract, that's put to the side, so none of that's going to be seen. It's really me on the app, how much money I want to transfer every month into my savings, you know? And then I have a spending account, and at the end of every month, my financial advisors give me a breakdown of what I spent, how much I spent this month, and really, that's all it is. Tagovailoa isn't touching a cent of his rookie deal with the Dolphins, which is valued at $30.3 million over 4 years by Over the Cap, and is instead living off the money he makes from endorsements. And everything he does spend is reviewed by his financial advisors on a monthly basis. Right now, Tagovailoa is currently pulling in money from at least 4 different endorsement deals as he announced partnerships with Adidas, Bose, Muscle Milk, and Wingstop back in April. That has allowed him to at least splurge on some things, including a $1.65 million house in Miami and an $80,000 Escalade for his mother and a $10,000 Rolex for his father, per Pro Football Talk. Seems like a pretty good setup made possible by a widely known quarterback that started from his freshman year at a college football superpower. Among the best-known examples of this is Rob Gronkowski, who revealed in 2018 that he had still not spent any contract money from his years of playing. Wow, Gronkowski was living on endorsement money while letting his $44 million in career income stay in the bank. That's so smart. I wish more athletes did this. We would have less of these horrible stories of athletes that are just completely broke after they get out. And you see it all the time, and it's across all the sports. It doesn't matter what sport. These athletes come in as kids. They're making ridiculous amounts of money. They're spending ridiculous amounts of money. They're probably having the time of their lives. And then their career starts to dry up, or they get injured, or whatever happens, or their next contract's not as big as their last contract, and then they end up going broke and or into debt. Then you see them running like a used car dealership, or they're like bagging groceries or something, like, you know? And it seems to happen to them rather quickly. I believe there was a stat about this that I was reading one day. It was like they have like maybe a 10-year shelf life after their career is over. Which is horrible, but really that's kind of all of us humans. I mean, well, except we're not getting paid endorsement money just to do our job, right? So we have to actually work for our money, but you should always live well beneath your means, which is what you can take away from the story. It's what he's doing. He's living beneath his means. He's got more money that he could spend than he does spend, which is always a smart way to do things. A lot of people think that that's not possible. That is completely possible. You have to sit down with your finances and really look into things and look into what am I spending versus what do I really need and can I afford to do this for cheaper? And you basically stay well under what you make. Ideally, you want to only spend maybe 50% of the money you make in a month. I realize a lot of people can't do that for A, B, or C various reasons, but you want to try and get there. The way I got out of that situation when I was younger was just basically staying home every day and doing nothing and being bored. I had no games and stuff, so like I would buy a book every week for a couple bucks from the used bookstore, and I would just read that book. That was my entertainment for the week. I wouldn't go out anywhere. I wouldn't go drinking. I wouldn't go partying, and basically just saved every dime until I had a good enough savings account to start branching out of that and taking care of my business and all that good stuff. And, I encourage everybody to do that. Get your spending under control as much as you possibly can. And at least don't be spending more than you take in every month. It shocked me to learn that there are people that spend more than they take in every month. That's just wild to me. Apparently they didn't get the memo about how unwise that is for your finances. But hey, life comes at you, you might end up with a pregnancy out of nowhere. You might end up, with an injury or a health issue. I mean, things happen. So you can easily see your savings decimated as well. But still, it's just a good rule of thumb for your life to be as prepared as possible for basically anything that can come at you. All right, that's our show for today. I know, short one today, only 20 minutes. Sorry about that, but I've got too much I got to do today. Filming for Film 4 Stars. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Deezer, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Amazon Prime Music and Podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and comment.